I did it! I officially graduated and I am a registered yoga teacher. Hello, I'm Janelle Tedesco and I recently graduated from a 200-hour yoga teacher training program. And this is the 6th and possibly the final video of this series where I'm just sort of letting you know what this process has been like, especially in the program that I took. One of the things I have learned is they are all very different. But I'm going to give a few takeaways in general for anybody who might be stumbling upon this video and this video only, but I am just going to quickly begin where I left off on my last video, which was I was getting very nervous as I was approaching my final for many reasons, not just how I would do on the final, but how I would be as a yoga teacher. There is something very scary about taking on something new in your life, something that you've never really done anything like before. Now, I'm also an actress. I'm used to being in front of a camera, but this is very different. I'm also used to being on stage, but I have lines, right? They give you the lines to say. And in a room, when you're teaching, and you're moving your body and you're instructing and you're looking at the people around you, you have to be very present in the moment. And I tend to get a little weird, a little crazy. I ramble sometimes. So I was very nervous as I was approaching my final. Now with my yoga program, I took Etabaya in Brooklyn. My program had two finals. There was the physical final where you do a class for your other yoga teacher trainers. And then in addition to that, there was a written final, which went over everything that we had learned in the entire 4-month process. The physical final, teaching that class, it was really putting together everything that we'd learned and how we were going to create classes that are interesting. If you've ever taken a yoga class, you might not notice everything that goes into how that class is put together. I really just thought it was like, oh, you come up with all of the sequences. You just come up with the poses and you put them together. But sequencing is one of many things that you learn. And sequencing itself is creative and it's a bit of an art form. I was nervous about sequencing. I'm still nervous about sequencing because if you want to be a teacher, you want to teach a lot and you want them to be individual and unique and creative and you want to bring a good experience to people. But one thing that I remind myself and I want to remind you if you are considering becoming a yoga teacher is there are types of yoga, in particular Bikram and Ashtanga, that do the same set of poses every time. And people come back again and again, and it isn't boring. They're working on their bodies in a set sequence that they know. So even if you're not going to become a Bikram or Ashtanga teacher, which I don't plan on doing that for myself at this time, you don't have to worry so much about the sequencing, about it being creative. Of course, you want to bring a flair, you want to do something different, but I think that most of the time people are going to expect that they're going to get Warrior 1 and Warrior 2 and Down Dog and all of these things that we're used to. We want those to be in there. So that's just my little bit about sequencing. In general, I just want to talk about if you are considering becoming a teacher, taking this first step, this first course, I just want to let you know some things to be on the lookout for. The most obvious one would be how the schedule is. So if you have a full-time job and you're trying to fit this in, or if you were thinking, I would love to just go away for 3.5 weeks to Costa Rica, or where's the other one? I saw one in Bali. And you just go away and it's super intensive. And maybe you're thinking, oh, that's for me. I just want to do it and get it done and be immersed in yoga. I would suggest, depending on your needs and your desires, if you actually want to teach, doing a 3-week intensive in another country might not be the best choice. I think it would be amazing. Don't get me wrong. I would love to spend 3 weeks doing yoga in Costa Rica. But there is so much to learn. And some of them are concepts, not facts. Sure, you'll learn the history of yoga, a certain timeline, but when you start to talk about philosophy and getting deeper into the layers of ourselves and concepts that are beyond being heady, they're things that you need to feel, absorb, and understand. And I've only scratched the surface with that. But my point is that in between classes for me, I had time to absorb the information, remember it, sometimes even put it into practice, and then come back the next class. Mine was mostly 2 days a week. It was full day on Sunday and the evening on Wednesday. We had a few other days that would come up here and there. But also for your body, I would suggest having a schedule that breaks it up a little bit, because it's very intense on your body. And even though I was very in shape, and even though I had been taking yoga leading up to it, I would come home from that Sunday class and I would just lay down on the floor, every muscle in my body being completely sore. If I had to go back and do that again the next day, and it would have been an even longer day if it was one of those 3-week intensives, I think that would have been very difficult. So if you want to deepen your practice and you want to take the 200-hour teacher training as a part of just your own spiritual awakening, becoming better at doing yoga, becoming better at understanding yoga when you take class, I think that's fantastic. But if you actually want to teach, my suggestion might be one that's broken up a little bit better. But really take a look at the schedule and how it works for your schedule. The other thing I really want to recommend is the feeling that the studio gives you. I traveled a little bit. There are studios that are closer to me, but I traveled to go to a studio that spoke to my soul. I know that might sound a little silly, but sometimes something just grabs you and you know that it's right, and you feel at home, or you feel safe, or it just feels right. We don't always have to know the words and be able to put into a perfect sentence why it feels right, but you know it when you feel it. And if you come across a studio that is offering a 200-hour teacher training and it makes you feel that way, and the instructor makes you feel that way, that might be the one that you want to go with. The next thing that I will tell you is make sure that you're ready to start. Don't jump into it, because it is a big commitment. You might just think 200 hours, big deal. I got that, no problem. Or a couple days a week, or a couple nights a week, a weekend a month, however they do it. You might just think, no problem, I got that. But there's a lot of reading, there's a lot of learning, and there's a lot of practicing. In addition to all of those classes that you're going to take, you need to learn how to do hands-on adjustments. You need to be in classes, watching other people's classes and watching the students take that class. It is a lot of work. For me, it was a lot of mental energy, and I have 2 kids at home, so raising kids, working as an actress, working as an audiobook narrator, and trying to maintain other things in my schedule, I sometimes got very overwhelmed. But I also got much more into meditation. And because of that, it worked for me once again. I learned how to calm myself down. I learned how to focus. I learned how to be more mindful when I didn't have time for meditating. Now, this is another thing that is 100% a lifelong practice. It's not like, I meditate, therefore I'm calm. It doesn't exactly work like that. At least it didn't for me. But these are all things that are a lifelong practice. And I don't regret any of it for a second. It was an amazing experience, and now I'm very excited to teach. I will say that I am very lucky right now because I already have a position, and I know it doesn't always work out that way. And I'm still just getting started. Some people want to become full-time yoga teachers, and it takes a while to build up to that. And some people just want to be able to teach a couple of classes a week. So right now I have 1 class a week, and I'm hoping that maybe I can get 2 or 3. But even that, I need to wait a little bit. You know, I don't want to just jump right in, because sequencing a class and remembering everything, that takes a little bit of time. I need to absorb it, and then I can bring it to others. So in summation, Just research the place that you're thinking of and take some time to decide for yourself if you feel like you're ready. Now, sometimes there are things that we have to jump into even when we don't feel ready. That's what my mother told me about having kids. You'll never quite be ready. You just have to take that leap of faith. So you might know that when it's time. I think that that's how it happens for a lot of people. But just understand that you will have a lot of work and you only get out of it what you put into it. 200-hour teacher training is the first step. There are a lot of certificates and a lot of different kinds of yoga that you can get. There is a 300-hour yoga teacher training, which is the advanced. But even on top of that, people continue to learn and grow pretty much forever when you become a yoga teacher or when you get into this whole area of your life. So I am not jumping into an advanced training. I'm not jumping into another certificate at this time. So we'll see how it goes from here on. I'm going to start and continue teaching. I'm going to continue taking classes, hopefully continue to grow, and then we'll take it from there. Good luck on your journey. Namaste.